Hey everybody, good evening. Oh, hey K-Sue, hey Chopper. Hi Era, welcome back you guys. Yeah, let's just give it about 1 minute as we're just getting set up. Hi Alberto. Emily, hope you're doing well. So a little deeper insight into detox, as long as we sit in some of these poses, ideally we could have a 75-minute practice is my favorite. 90 is pretty incredible. 60, you just don't want to overdo it with the amount of poses, so that you have enough time to really sit in them. And you may notice in the last few nights, I've been getting just lost. I don't even know and kind of where it is necessarily, sitting in some of these shapes. Um, but you just can't predict when that's going to happen. And some nights the mind's going to be a little bit more active, and other nights you're going to find yourself adrift as though you're on a sailboat, just kind of floating out in the middle of the water. So no expectations, and just see as you settle, right? And if you're not settling, if you're just, okay, I understand this first minute is around settling, but if you're not settling, hey, remember the mindfulness meditation is to observe the air coming into the body and observe the air going out of the body. So there's not a strong focus in this practice. There's an observation that can kind of start to, think of your mind like having twist ties around it in certain places. That observation mode can untwist those ties. Hey, Ron. All right, let's start lying down on our backs tonight. Legs straight. Blocks and props, set them off to the side. If you're all queued up for a playlist and you want to hit a detox playlist, you're welcome to do that. And then make your way onto your back. Okay, let's start on the back with the legs bent and the feet turned out a little bit wider. So if you turn the heels out behind your big toes and then let your knees fall in towards each other. And then you just adjust your feet in a little bit closer if your knees aren't touching, and so that your knees can eventually rest up against each other. Arms can hang out over your head. Feel any differences in your shoulders, underneath your shoulder blades. And you can watch the breaths elongate, and the breath might be slowing down now that you're lying down. I was talking to Kimberly the other day, and she was like, doing the detox so that I could do the next day's flow, which I thought was a really great way to look at it from a taking care of your body perspective. You know, the contrast, if you only flow, and a lot of people do, flow, 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 keep going, more flow, harder flow. Right? That repetition without ever breaking down will actually build, a pretty good amount of resistance, which can be confused as strength, but resistance might be something that the body is just building up and holding on to that it doesn't need to. So as you put in, as you insert the detox, I think you'll notice, I think you all notice, what that does to the body and how it continues to open things back up. And then you get back into your flow and you feel more space. When you feel more space, you can feel more breath. When you feel more breath, you can endure in the practice from a place of peace much longer than you could before. We all started this adventure of our yoga practice at one point where, we couldn't get through one pose without feeling like we were going to, stop breathing, or our heart rate was climbing and getting so fast in one pose. Now you're connecting 40, 50, 60 poses together sometimes in a flow with breath linked all the way through. You can start to let your knees come away from each other. So feet are about hip width, knees are then the same. And let's let the left knee fall out like a tree leg or a half butterfly. And once that knee falls out, bring your right knee towards your chest. Bring your hands onto your right shin. Interlace the fingers, cross the thumbs, and the shoulders and the head and the grip. They can all set heavy. A little different tonight, so that left leg is a half butterfly shape, kind of like a tree leg. And then we're starting to settle here. And the reminder once again, the evenings where the mind isn't necessarily dropping right into its stillness with the body, then the mode is observation or observer, of thought, of sensation, of breath. way, it's so interesting, the mystery of what will come up, what you might see. And when you're sitting in some of these poses and realize you don't have to do anything with what comes up. Now's not the place. It's not like you're gonna jump off of your mat or out of the pose to write something down on a notepad. You actually don't even want to stress your mind to that extent of remembering anything. And it's such a nice way to nurture the relationship that you have with yourself. You know, everything that you describe and other relationships that you may envy or that you look at and you interpret and you learn from, you have this beautiful relationship and to nurture with yourself, to yourself, and to be with yourself, and so that we can, be there for others. First thing, begin to soften the grip that you have on your right shin. Feel the sensations in the hands, the webbing of the hands and the fingers. And then as you release the shin, and the right foot can come down onto the mat. And then you can start to straighten your left leg out. You release from that hip all the way down through the knee into the toes. And then as we stretch the right leg out long, the right ankle is going to come over and to cross on top of your left shin or your left ankle. So get that heel to the outside edge of your left shin or your left ankle, and then slide it down, and you'll feel the release to your outer right hip crease. And then you can reach your arms over your head and connect your left hand to your right wrist to add a weight. And then just let your arms be heavy here. Adjust your shoulders back to square. You can release the hand from the wrist. And let your arms begin to come down by your sides or rest your hands onto your belly. A nice stress release. Take a deeper breath. Feel your belly rise. As you exhale, you can uncross your right ankle from your left ankle. And as you release the legs, close the eyes. Feel the right leg different than the left leg. As slowly as you can, take a breath, draw yourself back into the body, and from that rebound, bend your legs so that your feet are flat. And then once your feet are flat, move your hips over to the left a little bit. And you're going to roll on to your right side. And then once you're on your right side, reach down with your left hand. And so your left hand connects to your right foot. And then really slide that right knee down so it's below your hip. You say one line from your right shoulder down through your right knee. And keep the left hand on the foot, and then we're going to start to roll the shoulders and back onto the mat, bringing us into a twist. So certainly you could put some of your stack underneath your head like a pillow. Your left leg is your top leg. It's bent. And your right hand can come around into the outer left thigh. And little adjustments along the way. If you can settle the shoulders and let them be heavy, and then we're in it. You might feel this a lot, front of your right thigh. You could feel it in your outer left hip. And it's one of these closed circuit experiences where you're tied in throughout your whole body, and so the energy may be a little bit more intense. It's got less places to go or escape. And two hands connected to other parts of your body, closed circuit. long as the shoulders are heavy, you can let your head rock a little bit side to side. And last 30 seconds. And then make sure your head is back to center. And start to soften the grip that you have with your foot and your leg. And we're just going to let these legs unravel. So we're already on the back. You just feel where the legs want to go. Let them unravel. And then you'll set up square or flat or in the middle of your mat in the rebound of Shavasana. 2 legs straight with your arms by your sides and your palms facing up. You might get one of those moments in where it feels great to let out a bigger exhale or even a little sigh. You may feel all the stress that you're holding on to in your body is not there right now. Right now is the key. And turn to presence. And to turn to a existence where mindfulness and being aware of everything you do while you're doing it and becomes the most peaceful activity that can be done. An easy example is rather than looking at the day that you have planned for tomorrow, and living in that story, you can see the specs or the framework of the day, and then, like we've been talking about, if the passion is there, purpose, you just show up. If it's not, then you're going to be fighting an uphill battle against the flow around showing up. And humans are really good at distracting ourselves and sabotaging, making things harder than it needs to be. But that could just be a byproduct of not living your truth. But don't be discouraged if you haven't found that ultimate purpose and passion. And you might just discover it on your mat somewhere along the way. And fill up with a nice deep breath. Feel your belly, your chest, the cavity of the chest expand. And exhale patiently and observe all the air as it comes out of your body until there's just the last little bit still coming out. And start to bend your right leg, and so you've got like a tree leg, half butterfly. And bring your left knee in towards your chest. Interlace the fingers onto the left shin. Shoulders, upper back, if you need to reset. And the head and the weight of the hand settles onto the shin, that's enough. You don't have to create any extra force in pulling your thigh down. You now have an idea of, kind of sitting in for more time. Begin to ease up on the grip. And let your left foot come back down onto the mat. And we'll slide that right leg straight. And the heel is going off to the side edge. Right on. Once you have your right leg straight, and take your left leg down, cross the ankle over the front of the right shin. And then set your legs in this supine lateral side bend, and then reach your arms over your head. Your right hand to your left wrist, and then let the head and the arms, the shoulders, all the way down into the bum, into the heels get heavy. It's a great posture if you tend to hold your breath, or if you notice that throughout the day you take generally shorter or choppy breaths. You're doing this pose around 5 minutes, and you'll feel the relationship, the intercostal muscles, the rib cage, and the diaphragm. And you'll feel that open up, and the breath will expand. And we know as the breath expands, that can certainly be an emotional process sometimes. We are on quite the roller coaster in this life. And so you have permission, grant yourself access, and to feel those emotions. And first, let your head come back towards center. And release your wrists so your arms can come down by your sides. And please never rush these transitions. Enjoy them for every sensation. And that's the detox. In the flow, bring your left leg back. And so your feet are about hip width apart. And then we'll set up. Bend your legs, feet flat. Move your hips over to the right a little bit so you have space on your mat and to roll down or roll over onto your left side. As you roll to your left, you reach down with your right hand, grab for the top of your left foot, and then you want to stretch or set and that left knee down below the hip. You can pull it back a little bit. Your right hand stays connected, and top leg bends. Left hand comes around onto the thigh. And from there, you can just let gravity take you deeper into the twist. You might have to reset the head and let your shoulders start to work their way back down. Keep your hands connected, but make sure that you're not holding on with strength. Slowly we'll ease our way out of it so you can just start to soften the connection of the hands and from your foot and from your thigh. And really slowly as you untwist your pelvis, and feel that in relation to your low back. And then from your thighs all the way up to your chest. And we can release ourselves with the legs long and your arms by your sides. And go ahead and settle and absorb the rebound. You might feel some heat coming off the front of your thighs. And subtle vibration within your hips. And even beyond what we're doing with the body, a reminder the practice is inside all of this space, where your mind can detach and from every singular bit of information, constantly processing and maneuvering and trying to figure things out. It's just such a great way to expand our minds, to feel hope in our hearts. Hope requires expansion. Hope doesn't sit in the absolute of constriction. And so sometimes you'll see there's neuroses that come up when you're sitting in the weight of the pose, the compressed state. Things we must face and see, acknowledge, admit that they're there. And start to bend the legs so that your feet are flat. And you reach for your stack if you have a yoga block. If you don't make something firm enough, so like a firm pillow or a folded blanket, legs are bent, lift your bum, and then slide your stack underneath the back of your hips. And so you're up, if you're on the block, about 4 inches on the lowest height. Again, something firm enough so that your pelvis will be able to rest but still sit above your heart. And if you have this edge of the yoga block, it's going to give you a little kneading effect into your glute med. And so your hips stay where they are. You can kind of walk your feet over to the right a little bit. And then as you let your knees come down onto the left, and you're going to find the edge of that block. You're just the edge of your stack. And kind of digging into your outer hip and your glute med. At first it might feel pretty tight, And then as you settle around the object of your stack, okay, you could even do this. You could have a tennis ball or put anything underneath that's a little bit more firm, okay, under that outer hip. Now don't go reaching for something that you don't already have tonight, but maybe next time, okay, you bring that along as a prop. And for now, even if you don't have anything to put underneath your bum, you can just let both knees fall over to the left. About 1 more minute on this side. If you want a little bit more and you've got that block underneath, you just slide your right leg and kind of closer into the inside of your left leg. And then you'll feel the edge of the block really digging in for the last minute or so. as slow as you can get pretty deep, and you don't want the body to twitch. And so nice and gently, especially if you're on the yoga block, start to and bring that right knee back up, and then you can roll your hips back centered. And certainly that can be some kind of feeling, so take your time. And stay on your stack, but we're going to go right on to the other side. And so the knees come over to the right. Let the edge of the block or the stack, if you're just straight on the ground, that's fine. And just let the knees come over towards the right. And keep it right where you are. If you want a little bit more, let that left leg close over the inside of your right leg. And it's going to get a little deeper into that kneading sensation, especially if you're on the edge of the block right now. bears so much tightness and tension in the outer hips, the hip flexors, and even those of us moving and mobilizing. And so imagine if you weren't. Imagine if you were, sitting at a desk day after day, driving in a car, 3 hours commute, day after day after day after day. Okay, what that does to our energy and the flow of the energy. And we know the body's connected to the mind, to the brain. So if that flow is stuck or stagnated, then certainly our brain is going to be functioning differently than if those channels are open. And go really slow, and so there's no muscle twitch. As we start to bring that left knee back up, and your hips are going to eventually come back to center. Pretty deep release. You might get a good sigh here. If it's there, let it happen. And then once you're square, feel your feet. And lift your hips just about an inch and stack out whatever you had underneath your bum. And take it out and let your bum settle down. And then you can let your legs go long. You might feel like the sides of your belly are about a foot longer. And through this release, soften your bum and reset your head or your shoulders if you need to. And close the eyes. Now here's the thing to let settle in. You can function in this space once you know it to exist. You can do your life and you can live. And you can be a part of all the energy. And you can exist in this space, in this calm and with this peace, no matter what. It's there, it's here, it's inside of you. You just did a full hour practice from your back, so don't be surprised if you're a little out of it in a great way. Maybe pause. If you have anything planned right after the practice, give yourself some space to be silent. gentle adjustment. You know, you're always invited to stay in your Shavasana for as long as you like to. And thank you all so much for being here and for sharing the practice tonight. Hope to see you tomorrow morning for our flow practice. Drink lots of water, everybody, please. And take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Namaste.